Welcome. My name is Will Moss. I am the CEO of HBCU Connect, and this evening we are presenting opportunities with Visa and the fraud prevention, cybersecurity team, and a risk operations team. So super excited to have you all here with us. Again, my name is Will Moss. I'm the CEO of HBCU Connect. I'm going to be your moderator this evening, and I'm going to introduce you to the Visa team. And hopefully you all have some great questions and we get some great engagement. So to start that engagement, I'm going to ask that you all drop a note in the comments introducing yourself. So a good way to introduce yourself is just your name, where you're from, maybe what HBCU you represent or what college you represent, a little bit maybe about what you do. And then also a good way to network at these events, considering the fact that this is a virtual event as opposed to an in-person event. You can actually drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat along with that introduction of yourself. That way we know who's here with us this evening for our special event with Visa. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as we get going. And also during the event, I'm going to be introducing you to different team members we have from Visa that are here with us. So if you have questions, drop those questions in the chat, and maybe some of the Visa team members that are here representing the company can answer those questions in the chat. And then also when you get into the breakout rooms, you'll have the opportunity to use the raise hand feature here within Zoom and ask questions directly to some of the team members in the breakout rooms. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing I like to do is go over the agenda briefly. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on HBCU Connect and sort of why we do these events, our partnership with Visa. Then I'm going to introduce you to our keynote, who is Michael Jabara, Vice President, Head of Global Fraud Services. Then I'm going to introduce you to the Visa team that's here representing the Fraud Services team today. I'll introduce them one by one, so we'll get to know them and their story and background and what led them to Visa. And then also we're going to have a panel discussion. So I have a few questions that I've lined up on your behalf as candidates to ask to the Visa team to get their insight, so we can get to know the culture a little bit better, get to know the team members a little bit better. And then I'm going to give you all the opportunity to ask questions and engage in our breakout sessions. All right, so we'll open up the breakout sessions. I'll go over the instructions for that. And then once the breakout sessions wrap up, we'll roughly have around 30 minutes in the breakout sessions. But once we get done with that, we'll come back and talk about next steps and how you can apply for an opportunity for this specific team. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, if this is your first time attending one of our events, we do these events specifically for diverse professionals, sometimes students, to offer opportunities for you all to connect with some of the employers and partners that we work with. The hope from this event is that some of you learn more about Visa, that you get to know the team and the culture a little bit better, and then you're excited about potentially landing an interview and potentially working for Visa or the specific team that we're presenting this evening. So kudos to Visa. This is not their first event with HBCU Connect. We've actually been partnering with Visa for several years now. We've done several events like this where folks have received interviews and been hired and learned more about Visa. So our hope and the opportunity for you, I always like to say, you're in the right place at the right time. You're going to get to network. You're going to meet some of the team members. You're going to get to ask questions and engage. And then hopefully you'll want to apply and then interview for specific opportunities with the Visa team. So that is the opportunity here for you this evening. So definitely make the most of it. Again, introduce yourself in the chat, drop your LinkedIn profile, and let's go. So our first speaker is Michael Jabara, Vice President, Head of Global Fraud Services there at Visa. So Michael, if you're ready.
Absolutely. I am ready. Well, thank you so much, Will, for having me and the rest of the Visa team. We're really excited about this event and to share some of the great work that we do from a global risk, fraud, and cyber perspective, as well as a chance to connect some fantastic candidates. I'm going to not really talk too much about myself because I've been talking about that way too much lately, but I'm going to just kind of walk through a little bit of what is it that we do and kind of peel back the curtain of the organization and the team. And really, kind of my aim is to provide a good fact base for everybody who's attending today's event to understand the organization, the culture, the impact, so that we generate some excitement. So that's kind of what we're here all about. let me share the screen and see if I can figure out how to do this.
Yep, there should be a share screen button in the control panel.
There we go. Smart. Technology is very important. Okay, there we go. So I lead the Global Fraud Services organization. And what we're really about is kind of looking at our entire ecosystem and making sure that it is protected, serving as that trust foundation to ensure that Visa is an engine for growth for everyone, everywhere. And so if you can think about the scale and the scope of Visa size, we are in over 200 countries. We process over 10 or 12 trillion dollars of annual payment volume. The reason why we have that reach and we have that scope is because we have this really solid security foundation that allows people to have trust that their Visa card is safe and can be used in a secure manner. My team's responsibility is to protect and grow that trust from would-be threat actors and cyber criminals who would look to defraud our clients for nefarious purposes. The landscape that we deal with is incredibly complex. You could see that, and it's becoming more complex. Right? We've seen this massive digitization trend happen after COVID, where a lot of people went from shopping in store to shopping online. A lot of our interactions are becoming more virtual. And so that creates these gaps and vulnerabilities that fraudsters can exploit in terms of social engineering and account takeover. But what has also happened is as more and more organizations and companies have become more digital, the attack surface for threat actors has also expanded. We have a lot more of a complex ecosystem than what we had before. And so there's these additional entry points for threat actors to exploit that we're constantly on the lookout for. And then the third key piece, I talk a lot about innovation and the amazing things that we do, and you'll see it in just a little bit. But people kind of tend to forget that fraudsters are really innovative too. They have a high level of attention to their ROI. Their incentives may be even more stringent than incentives you might find in the corporate world. And so they're becoming more organized. They're becoming more innovative. They're becoming much more sophisticated in the types of attacks that they carry out. So we have people participating more in this digital virtual economy. You have new players coming into this ecosystem, expanding acceptance, bringing more and more people into this fast-growing digital world, but increasing the attack surface. And then you have these fraudsters who are more motivated than ever to try to illicitly monetize, things like cyber attacks and data breaches at a scale that we haven't seen before. Really scary stuff, but that's okay because the team is here to have your back. And so we have a fairly in-depth, we'll call it a kind of defense in-depth model that we apply across the entire ecosystem, where we have multiple lines of defense to make sure that we are thwarting these bad actors. I think Chris on my team calls this the Swiss cheese slide. And the first time that I've shared this within Visa's leadership circles, people were really concerned. They're like, well, all of our defenses seem to have pretty big holes in them. That seems bad, no? So I took a little offense to it. It's like, hey, you don't trust me to do my job? But the concept is that it's a much more real view of how the real world operates. Because if I were to go and say, I've got the silver bullet to protect against all types of attacks, all types of vulnerabilities, I would be selling you snake oil. But rather, by recognizing there's no one single layer of defense that can protect you, you become much more inoculated against these types of sophisticated threat actors that I mentioned before. And you frustrate them at different points of the attack itself. And even with that, we have to recognize that some of these attacks are going to go through. And the most effective thing for us to do is to actually mitigate them. But the most effective thing is to identify and mitigate them as quickly as possible. And that's what Chris and his team are all about. And we'll hear from John, who lives on the front lines of that. So we have we start kind of that first layer, which is all about proactive intelligence. What are the fraudsters up to? You know, we have like folks on the dark web monitoring what these criminals are chatting about and what schemes that they're cooking up so that we can create countermeasures against them. We take that intelligence and look at how we can secure our processes. We hack ourselves and we hack our clients. We pretend that we are the threat actors and we see what we can get away with. And whenever we identify that vulnerability, we close it out because we're a lot more forgiving than a fraudster would be. We build fantastic capabilities. You know, all the buzzwords that you hear about AI and ML and generative AI, we have been doing this for many, many years. The first AI capability that we rolled out was back in the 90s, before AI was even a thing. And we share that with our clients so they can protect themselves. But then we create these additional layers, right? This enhanced anomaly detection. We're looking at these patterns across the network, millions and millions of transactions that are coming through to pick out the needle in the haystack, the bad needle in the haystack that could cause some damage, and then shut it down on behalf of our clients so that we're protecting them from fraud losses, we're protecting them from reputational damage, or protecting them from increased regulatory scrutiny. And you have to remember that a lot of the folks that we're stepping in front of, they're not large enterprise clients. They're not the big merchants. They're not the big banks. They are the small businesses. They are the credit unions that may not have the resources, the expertise, or the capabilities to defend themselves, and therefore are vulnerable targets. So let me actually kind of bring this a little bit to life. Our capabilities don't have exactly the UI UX, but the functionality is very much the same. So what you're looking at is one of this assets that we have that is looking at malware that has been injected into a merchant checkout page. And what I mean by that, you're buying flowers for your mom for Mother's Day, and you're typing in your payment information so you can complete the order. So actually happening is that payment information is being transmitted out into a malicious server controlled by these fraudsters, who then take your payment information, sell it on the dark web, or use it to buy crypto or iPhones, or the case may be. And so we have an incredible line of sight into all of these different types of malware and ransomware and how they're changing and how they're evolving. And we've built this asset that goes out into the web and scans merchant pages, and whenever we identify one, we go ahead and remediate that infection and make sure that it doesn't result in a significant data breach. And what we do is, because we're intelligence driven, we'll see an infection, we'll think about, well, where did that infection come from? And we identify these third-party sources, which is exactly what happened here. These are all based on true scenarios, by the way, where there was one entity that resulted in the infection of over 300 small quick service restaurants. We identified it, we let them know, we shut it down, and we cleaned up the environment so that the merchants don't suffer any potential losses. This is another example here. What you're seeing is what we monitor on a real-time basis, all the transactions that come across the network. And again, whenever we see something out of band, we take a look into it. And so here, there's a whole lot of ATM withdrawals happening, large amounts, suspicious period, suspicious time of night, and at a frequency that is very unrealistic for what a legitimate consumer would do. And so likely what is happening here is that this bank had been compromised, and their accounts are being used to essentially clean them out. And so we let the bank know that, hey, your systems are compromised. We go ahead and make sure that they're actioning that as quickly as possible. The reason for that is that counter you see on the left-hand side, that's a real-time counter. That is how much money is being taken out of this bank in real time. So it's about $240,000 per minute. That's money walking out the door. You are not going to get that money back. We want to make sure we action it. But sometimes they can't action it themselves because this is 2 a.m. on a Saturday and they don't have a 24/7 operating group. And so that's where the team comes in, and then they'll go ahead, they'll block this activity really quickly. and let them know what we did on their behalf so that they can go check their systems, see where the intrusion happened, and then clean it up. But in the meantime, what could have been a $5 million attack, a $10 million attack, is contained, and only about $350,000 are lost. And again, these are small banks, some in the US, others are global. And so a multi-million-dollar fraud loss could put them out of business completely and stop them from serving the communities that they're there to help out. And then the last example before I stop talking there. So this is our Ashburn Center there, where the team is located out of. I mentioned there's an incredible amount of innovation that we're doing, leveraging AI, ML. And so this is one of the models that we deployed, which is looking at anomalous activities that are looking to guess payment information. So maybe the fraudster has access to your 16-digit account number, but they don't have access to the expiry date and that 3-digit code in the back. And so they're sending a whole bunch of test transactions to guess it. And then when they guess it, they'll go and again, monetize it by buying crypto or buying iPhones or whatever the case may be. And so we need to pull out all of those transactions. We need to isolate them and see what's happening there. And what's really interesting here is this is actually two attacks happening at once. There is this attack that is essentially a brute force attack on one merchant to try to guess these sensitive or data elements. And then the next step is that they take these validated accounts and then they go and buy a bunch of crypto on this crypto exchange. So we're able to cross-correlate that, understand the overall scope and taxonomy of the attack, and then shut it down. And a whole host of kind of analytical prowess is going into this because, again, if you think about the millions of transactions that are being processed, like every one of them is a data point that we are trying to triangulate. So in this specific scenario, we were able to quickly identify and stop this. There was about $5.5 million in attempted transactions, but because we were able to quickly identify and stop it, the money didn't actually move. And so we ended up kind of resulting in a $0 fraud loss for both the crypto merchant as well as the banks that were involved. So that's kind of a flavor of some of the work that we do, some of the capabilities that we have built, some of the challenges and the threats that we are dealing with, just so that kind of people get a sense of the day-to-day. And then Chris and John and Tendai are going to be able to provide a lot more color in terms of what does this look like on the ground, and also likely correct me because I'm sure I butchered a whole lot of content of theirs.
Awesome. Hey, Michael, is it okay if I ask a couple of follow-up questions before you?
100%.
So a couple, I think that would be interesting to the folks on the call today is, as head of global fraud services, right? How big is global fraud services? And then what type of people, professionals do you have on that team? I know we have the specifics to this event, but I think that might be good context.
Yeah. So as an organization, I think we're in the high 70s, 80s, and then with some of the hiring that we're doing, we should be getting to the 90s, 100 fairly soon.
Okay.
So that's kind of the size of the organization. We can kind of round it up and say it's about 100 folks.
Okay.
And kind of the types of folks that we look to recruit is very much along the line of that Swiss cheese slide that I had mentioned. We look for folks who are very much around threat intelligence, the monitoring, kind of assessing what are the potential vulnerabilities that could be breached and how do we counter that. We look for people who are looking to build capabilities, look at, how can I build new models using all of our data and all of our AI capabilities to detect and remediate these fraud patterns. We look for people who are on Chris's side of the world, who are essentially the eyes on glass, looking at all of these transactions, all of the alerts, and then activating a playbook to essentially action that intelligence in a way that provides value to our clients. So, a wide range of skill sets. I would say, there's the soft components of it, and I call them kind of the 4 C's. We are looking for people who are creative, because the fraudsters are creative, so we have to outpace them. Looking for people who are really collaborative. We have 4 different functions within my organization. They work really closely together, and we work really closely with a whole bunch of other different teams within Visa. Work really closely with clients. We work closely with partners across the ecosystem. So collaboration is key to everything that we do. We are looking for people who are good communicators. A lot of times, our ability to be effective is not about speaking to other risk professionals. It's about our ability to speak to business professionals, because they're oftentimes key decision makers that we need to win over. So taking really complex fraud, risk, and cyber concepts and making them understandable to the lay people is really key. And then the 4th piece is consultative. So somebody who really is able to understand the problem, understand really complex problems, break it down into kind of core components, and start to go solve it piece by piece to get us to where we need to, because the types of challenges that we deal with on a day-in-day-out basis, they're not easy. Otherwise, other people would have solved them. So how do you kind of take that analytical approach to your day-to-day activities?
Excellent. So Michael, let me thank you for being our kickoff speaker, and I'll bring you back for our panel discussion after I introduce the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks, Michael. Okay, so our next speaker and first speaker from Meet the Team. And in Meet the Team, essentially what we want to do is introduce you to some of the team members who have volunteered their time out to kind of share their story, what they do, and a little bit about their teams. But the first speaker is going to be Chris Danasco, Senior Director, Risk Operations Center. So Chris, if you're ready.
Yep. Hello. Thank you, Will. It's good to be here.
Sir.
So hello, everyone. My name is Chris Danasco. I am the global head of the Visa Risk Operations Center. I have been at Visa for about 16 years now. It'll be 16 in like 2 days. It was July 1st when I started. You can see a little bit of my experience here at Visa. I started as what I oftentimes refer to as an ant, a lowly little associate network technician. My initial role when I started was focused very much on doing 2 things. One was monitoring the transaction quality that was passing through Visa. So looking at, are the majority of transactions being approved in line with what we would expect them to? If things are being declined, has something gone awry where maybe somebody loaded bad code and transactions are no longer processing in a standard manner? So that was kind of my initial place that I started in. And then I started learning a little bit about how to monitor the end-to-end corporate and commercial networks, making sure that it was up and stable and that we didn't have any outages around that stuff. Eventually, after learning a lot of that aspect of what was done in what was called the NOC, the Network Operations Center, I got kind of bored and I started looking at some of the training that Visa paid for that was available to us. I had taken all the network training that was required of me, and I was looking through this portfolio of options and saw one called CEH, which is Certified Ethical Hacker. And I was instantly curious, what is this? And started reading a little bit about it and was intrigued, and went to my boss and said, hey, I took all of these other trainings. Can I take this CEH course? And I said, yeah, sure. It has application to what it is. And as I took that course, I was absolutely in love. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was very interested in cyber and just kind of fell into that being one of my main focuses. And as luck would have it, after that class finished up, about 6 months later, a opening came up for the Security Operations Center, the SOC. So I went from the NOC to the SOC and said, all right, let's go, let's learn how cybersecurity works, which was at the time only about 4 or 5 people that were doing 24/7 monitoring of all of the different cybersecurity alerts that were occurring across all of the detection capabilities that we had at that time. I spent about a decade doing that. I went from being an analyst to being a specialist. In my time working in the SOC, I actually got to a point where I had started to do so many different things that were not a part of the defined role that I signed up for, that I got approached by our HR team. And they said, you've kind of taken this to a different place, and you're doing these things that the other people aren't doing. So we think that you should write this down, and we want you to actually tell us what that is. Define this role, and then this is going to be the role that you do now, and you will now be a part of this role. So it's one of the more exciting moments in my career was the fact that I actually got to define a role for us and create a whole new capability set within the cybersecurity function, and spent a lot of time helping cyber really modernize and operationalize and become what is the more sophisticated capability that we have today. About 5 years ago, I was approached and told that we have a new team that we were looking to build. And it seems that fraud has gotten to be so rampant and so fast and catastrophic that we now need a 24/7 team. And we have, of course, the Risk Operations Center, the ROC. And I said, I did NOC, I did SOC, why not do ROC? And kind of looked at it as if anybody's been given that fun challenge of, if you knew now 10 years ago, what would you do differently? It kind of gave me that opportunity to do it, and also to build something from the ground up that had never been done here before. So I took a leap of faith into whether or not I could step up to this challenge, and I feel like thus far done a pretty good job. We are doing 24/7 monitoring, protecting the global payments ecosystem. We had started off as only 7 people to do all of this protection. And since December of 2018, when I first started, to now, we have grown to a team with a total of 55 people that are actively monitoring and responding to all of the different things that we detect, and hopefully disrupting the majority of it. And one of which is, I don't know if he's next. Well, is John next, or do we go to Tendai next? You're on mute.
I'm sorry, Tendai is next.
Okay, sorry. Ladies first then, but John will be behind. And John is, I want to say, he's one of my my OGs. Started back in my first 10 of hires. So he goes back to when we were still very immature and trying to figure out what this was going to look like, what it was going to be. So he's been around the block and through the thick of some of the harder times that we've experienced to what brought us to where we are today. And from here, I'll pause for any questions you might have.
Yes, Chris. So so how big is your team now? And then can you kind of describe a day in the life?
Sure. So we are 55 people total. We have 3 senior analysts, and then a mixture of regular analysts and associate analysts that are all monitoring what we have coming in. And a day in the life, there's a difference between the day in the life for me and the day in the life for obviously the analysts. The day in the life for me tends to be very much around trying to make sure that we don't have anything that's going to get up and out of control, and that we've been able to kind of keep things contained and at levels that are within the expected norms, but also trying to help cultivate what our future is going to be, define the roadmap, take input from the team and understand what are the challenges that they have, and how can I make sure that the technology that we're looking to deliver is going to solve those problems, enable them to be able to do more and do better at their role. And oftentimes I spend a lot of my day just talking to the people that are on the team and trying to understand what it is I can do to support them, to give them better opportunity to be the powerhouse that they are, or as I often call them, the rock stars that I have.
Awesome. And your team, you mentioned analysts, but what is your team made up? What are the different roles on your team?
So it's associate analyst, which is somebody who's kind of just entry level, getting into the realm of what we're doing here. We have a regular analyst, a step above that, which is usually somebody that an associate might look to for some assistance when they're having trouble, doing some of the diagnosing and analysis around some of the more complicated fraud schemes that we have. And those are the 2 different roles that are currently part of the 24/7 monitoring. We work it in 12-hour shifts. So it's a bi-weekly rotation where you work 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. And no, that doesn't make sense when I say it that fast, I'm sure. But essentially what it means is 1 week you work for 5 days, and the next week you only work for 2 days. Out of every 7 days, every 14 days, you only work 7 days, and you get every other weekend as a 3-day weekend.
Awesome. So what is it that you like most about working for Visa?
I think more than anything else, it boils down to just who I am as a person. I am a defender by nature. I like to protect people, and this role gives me the furthest reach possible. I obviously, by doing what we do and having this team that we do, we get to protect cardholders around the world and to stop bad people from doing bad things in nearly every corner.
Awesome. Awesome. So Chris, thank you for being a part of our event and being a part of our panel. So I'll bring you back for our panel discussion. But with that, I'll go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Thanks, Chris.
My pleasure.
Okay, so our next speaker is Tendai Marambire, cybersecurity analyst. So Tendai, if you're ready. I think you're on mute. There you go. There you go.
Okay, thank you, Will. So as you have already heard from Will, my name is Tendai, and I work in the payment fraud disruption team as a senior consultant, and I work under the payment fraud disruption team as a senior analyst. And my main responsibilities there is just to, we work closely with Chris' team. Whenever they see a lot of vulnerabilities with client payments, we inform each other, and then we try to simulate those scenarios in the test environment. So we act like, I think, the defensive type. So we try and simulate those fraud vulnerabilities in the test environment and indicate to the clients or issuers to say, okay, these are the vulnerabilities that you have, probably you need to look into this. And I'll just go through my career life within Visa for some of you, just for you to be aware. So I started working in Visa in 2013. And when I started as a software test engineer. And by then I used to test and do UAT for mobile banking applications. Then from there, I moved on to Visa debit processing. I had an opportunity to be moved by Visa within departments, and I moved from Visa Cape Town in South Africa, and I got a global role in Visa DPS. So just to indicate there that actually, before I'm even asked that question, that one of the reasons I like working for Visa is you get opportunities, equal opportunities to work globally. And also, and then after that, after the DPS role, then I moved on to that's when I joined the PFD team. So within a last span of 10 years, I have changed roles 3 times. To me, which is actually good, because sometimes when you're out there, you don't know whether your skills can be used can be transferable to different roles. And within Visa, actually, I think there's a good opportunity for that. There is a Go Share program where you get a privilege to go and work in a different team, try and understand the skills that are used in the different teams. So like what Michael mentioned, that he has 4 different departments in his organization. So I can, if there is a chance, I can move within those departments and try and learn new skills. And who knows, maybe I might land a career in the different department just to get exposed. And also there is an opportunity for where you set up your talent profile, which kind of helps managers to actually know your career path, and they will know how best to support you to move across different roles that you want to. Yeah, and I would say that's most about it.
Awesome, awesome. How did you end up working at Visa in the first place?
So when I started my career in I would say maybe in 2012, when I started testing mobile banking application, I was working for a company called Fundamo, which was based in South Africa, and it was a mobile banking application company. And Visa acquired Fundamo, and that's how we ended up working for Visa.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned one of the things that you like about working for Visa. Is that what you like most? Or is there anything else you'd like to share about what you like about working for Visa?
I think I also like the benefits part, especially like as a lady, when I'm starting, okay, I have 2 kids. And I had my kids when I was within Visa. I had a chance to get good maternity leave. So, and even there is work-life balance within Visa as well. So I get time to do my work, and I also have time to spend with my family as well.
Awesome, awesome. So, hey, let me thank you for being one of our panelists, and I'll bring you back for our panel discussion once I introduce our next speaker. But Tenda, I thank you for introducing yourself to our audience.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so our next, last but not least, our next speaker is Jonathan Stringfield, Fraud Analyst, Risk Operations Center, and also a proud HBCU grad from North Carolina Central. So, Jonathan, if you're ready.
Yeah, sure. So as he said before, my name is Jonathan Stringfield. I am actually a fraud analyst with Visa. So I work actually I work under Chris. I'm going to kind of tell you what my role is, but between Michael and Chris, I think you got the gist of kind of what I do. But really, my goal. Well, the role that I have with Visa right now is that my team monitors the ecosystem. We are constantly looking for suspicious activity that's kind of historically been indicative of fraud, and then I or my team investigate. We investigate those suspicious kind of incidents and try to discern if we're looking at fraud or not, with the main goal of actually working to contain that activity and kind of stop any type of or mitigate any type of monetary fallout that could be incurred by those fraudulent events. I tend to like to think of myself as being on the front line and more of a triage type setup, in which we're actually looking to just at the core of it, just contain it until we can get to the issue or get to the people necessary to kind of resolve the issue. But my goal really is to kind of take a look at our ecosystem and do more of a quick response when needed to actually stop any type of large fallout that our clients or that we could incur. So that's really that's actually what my goal, or that's actually what I do as my role in Visa. I've got a little bit less years at Visa than some of the other people here. I did come from Central. Or North Carolina Central, and I spent some time in North Carolina for a couple of years before actually getting up here and eventually, of course, finding Visa. What I can say about Visa that I do like is that I've worked a lot of jobs before I got here. Some in banking, some in sales, some in other fraud analyst positions. And one of the things I love about Visa is the support that you get, the overwhelming support that you get to not only like work within the skill set that you have, but also kind of hone your skill set, look at other skill sets. The amount of resources that they provide to you to be able to do that is vast. I love my team. Like Chris said, I've kind of been in the trenches with him since his first round of hiring, and we have this like really great friendship that allows me to be able to go to him and talk to him whenever I need to about work or about anything. So that kind of openness that you have at Visa, that kind of openness that you have to just like to have more so friends than bosses is really like something that I think is awesome. So I definitely think this is a great place to be and a great place to work.
Awesome. So, Jonathan, if I'm like let's say I'm a fraud or a risk professional and I'm interested in working at Visa, what are some of the tools that you all use? Are the tools that you use to do your job mostly like in-house tools that were kind of born and bred in-house inside of Visa, or do you use any industry, security tools that
So
folks might be familiar with?
I think I think it's a little bit of both. Really, in my position, it's really analytical. We do use a lot of things that end up exporting out to Excel, but we do have a lot of proprietary applications that we do use.
Mhm.
One of the major things with us is that we are actually constantly building on that, on all of those on those applications. We're constantly creating or optimizing them to work better for fraud, or to be able to use those tools, or building tools that allow us to actually discern easier and move quickly on fraudulent events that we have. So I would say when you're looking at it from my standpoint, we're looking at not counting the proprietary things that we may be using. Definitely Excel is a big thing that we're definitely using right now. I think like when we're talking about outside of that, like Splunk is also something, is also a tool that it would be helpful to be familiar with. I'll say it that way. Excel definitely is something that as of right now would be helpful to familiar with when you're looking at just overall kind of data analytic tools that we would be using to actually perform this job.
Awesome. So Jonathan, let me thank you for joining our panel, and you can just keep your video up, and I'm going to invite our other panelists to go ahead and start your video up as I take down our slides. So Chris, Michael, and Tendai, if you guys want to turn your video on, let me take down my slides. And let's have a conversation. So we've got a few minutes before we go into the breakout rooms. And so I've come up with some questions on behalf of the folks, the candidates that are with us at this event. So I'm going to try to like rapid fire the questions to different members of the team or the panelists. So if you all can just give me your, quick answers, we'll get as many of these answered before we go into the breakout room. So I'm going to start with you, Michael. And that is, if I'm a candidate looking for an opportunity at Visa, are there specific hiring locations on your team, physical locations where people may have to relocate to? Are there remote opportunities? What does that look like for your team?
So there's a mix. So for Chris's team, which is 24/7, there's an option to either be on-site or remote. The vast majority of the other roles that we recruit for are on-site in one of our offices in the US. And so that could be San Francisco, Foster City, Bellevue, Washington, Miami, Austin, Denver, Charlotte, Ashburn, Washington, D.C., New York. I don't know if I've missed one, but I think those are the main cities where we have folks located.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. Next question I'm going to shoot to you, Chris. And that is, I know there's probably some technical skills that you all would look at when interviewing a candidate for a job. Those technical skills might be specific to certain jobs, but I'm wondering, are there any soft skills that Visa looks for in candidates on a job interview that you can speak to?
I would almost say that somebody prepped you for this, but I know no one did, because I'm appreciative of that question, because generally speaking, while I do look at the technical skills that are there for analysts, I don't look at that specifically. What I usually am looking for is actually, I'm looking at the individual and the person and what they are representative of. And the things that I look for most is a innate curiosity and a natural analytical prowess. Somebody who can solve a problem in a way that is not immediately obvious. I love somebody who can take a challenge that they've never gone up against before, and immediately you can see those wheels turning and seeing them trying to figure out, how can I do this and how am I going to actually solve this problem? And one of the things that I've always done in all of my interviews is I give scenarios for what would be like an alert if you were working in the actual ROC, just to see how they approach it. It's not that I expect them to know the answers, but it gives me an opportunity to understand how they think and how they process information, and what they do with the information that I give to them to help lead them down the line of thinking that might be, am I going to get to A or B or C in the outcomes of what this could be? So that's one of the things that's very important to me. And the other thing is I pride my team and my team's cohesiveness more than anything else. We work as a unit. I tell the team all the time, and I know John's heard it more times than he wants to hear. We succeed as a team, we fail as a team. Mm-hmm. And I look at it as that at all times. I'm never going to sit there and say, you failed or you failed. No, we do it together both ways. And I want people who always feel like they can openly discuss with anyone else. I want people to feel like you can challenge someone without it being a competition because we are an analytical team. So you have to have competing views and somebody who can openly discuss it without feeling like it's an attack against, somebody's own perspective on how they are interpreting the data that's in front of them.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Excellent. Okay, so let me throw this next question to Tendai, and that is, so a lot of people, we've got a lot of candidates on the call, right? And this is a diversity focused event. So, a lot of people are considering, okay, well, what if I really did go to work for Visa? Would I be comfortable working at Visa being myself? So my question to you, Tendai, do you feel that you can be yourself culturally speaking, working there at Visa?
Yes. So talking personally, I feel I can be myself working within Visa. And also I don't feel any, I think I would say resentment. Most of the skills, so like I told you that I moved different skills, different roles. And some of the roles that I have gone to, I didn't have like the good skills, but there is an opportunity within Visa. There is a mentoring program where you can reach out to any person globally. So, and those people can be your mentors and they can train you and give you different skills that you need depending on the career path that you would have set for yourself. So I have, I'm actually a recipient of that because most of my, during my career moves, I have had a chance to do a go share. So currently, like I'm in PFD department and the cybersecurity team. I just moved within this team in the last 4 months. So I just started a role, and I have had a privilege to head skills. I didn't feel any segregation in that. So
Awesome.
it was just an equal opportunity for me.
Awesome. Thanks for that answer, Tendai. Okay, so let me throw this next question to Jonathan. So Jonathan, this is kind of a going back in time and just on the behalf of our candidates, right? What is one thing you wish you knew before you started working for Visa that you know now?
Honestly, it actually kicks back to something you were saying about like being yourself. One of the things that I did not know that I'm glad is a thing is just how much like they kind of appreciate and really regard like diversity, and also how much they really regard like not just so much you becoming a team member, having that kind of like friendship or cohesiveness with the team, but also with the company itself. I think when I first came on to Visa, what was crazy is I started getting all of these invites to these different groups that were within Visa, like DMV Vibe and things like that, which they were part of Visa, but it was just people talking about random things like buying a home or talking about where to get their hair cut. It's like, so you had like, there were all of these different groups that you could join and all of these different things you could be a part of, as well as be at Visa. So when you got there, it's really like you do get to be yourself. You do get to find people who are interested in things you're interested in, and who are like you. And you also get to have this very cohesive kind of team thing. I've been to dinner with Chris. I've been to dinner with Michael. I feel close. I feel we have a great time. We laugh. We joke. There's all of this kind of camaraderie that crosses over these managerial lines and everything. So you feel like they're your friends, and you also feel like you have like a group that you can come to, you can talk to in many different aspects. So that's one of the things I wish I had known before coming to Visa, because I would have tried to get here a little bit quicker. I'll say that much. It's definitely different from some of the things I've come from in the past.
Awesome. Thanks for that answer. Okay, so I'm going to circle this question back to Michael and maybe Chris to answer. And that is sort of the areas of growth. If you kind of look into forecasting the needs, right, from a hiring perspective, the types of talent that you're going to be looking to bring on to the team in areas where you're going to grow. If you can kind of speak to that, if we look at like forecasting the future hiring needs for your organization. So I'll shoot this one to Michael and maybe Chris.
Yeah. So I mean, we're constantly hiring. I think obviously we have roles that are open now. We're looking into planning for next year, and it's probably going to be a good, robust number of additional folks that we're going to bring into the fold. And it's going to be at all levels. It's going to be at the level that we're recruiting for now. It's going to be at kind of folks who are going to be leading kind of their, as we call them, like pods, to, whether establish a 24/7 shift, or to build out a new capability, or to go and nail down a potential fraud scheme or threat vector. And then kind of we're looking for senior leaders as well. As the organization has grown, we want to make sure that we have enough support for the junior talent in the organization to feel that they're getting the right level of support, they're getting the right level of attention, so that they can grow their skill set and progress their career as well. So not a very long way of saying it's going to be kind of across all different levels. It's going to be for folks who are starting out their careers, folks who are looking to take a managerial position, and folks who are looking to take a leadership position.
Awesome. Next question I have here is for Chris, and that is, this may be a little bit obvious based on what I've heard already from the different panelists, and also seeing the different roles that people have held at Visa. But the question is, how easy or difficult is it to move around within the company from one organization to another within Visa? So Chris, I'll throw that one to you, because it looks like you've held different roles.
I have, yeah. I started off in the networking side of the house, which is referred to as, these days it's called O&I, which is operations and infrastructure. It's still within the overall technology organization. The technology organization has the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, who reports directly to the CEO, but there are many different divisions of it, because Visa is essentially the biggest fintech anyone's ever probably heard of. But I was able to move from there into cyber, which was a pretty significant transition. It was one of those things where, believe it or not, the manager who hired me still likes to joke today about how my resume looked like I had done it on a cocktail napkin. But I also still, I came in and I made a very significant impression and did a lot to help that team to become what it turned into. And then obviously, I left cybersecurity, and the Risk Operations Center sits in a completely different organization within our Chief Risk Officer's side of the house. So now working within the global risk side of the house. I see people do it all the time. There are many people who have been around for 10, 15, 20. In our recent all staff that we did, we had several people that were above the 20-year mark, several people that were above 30, and I think we had one or two that were 35. Which I feel old with some of the folks that I talked to on my team, but that made me feel a little bit better.
Awesome. So, hey, I'm starting to see some really good questions come into the chat. So I'll use that as a cue to go ahead and launch our breakout room. So let me pull my slides back up and explain how this is going to work. I think it's very important that everybody kind of pay attention right now, because we have 4 breakout rooms, but we have quite a few people on the call that have been with us and stayed with us, which is great, right? So we have 4 breakout rooms, and we want the breakout rooms to be kind of divided as evenly as possible. I saw someone ask a question if there are software development roles and that kind of thing. So there is a breakout room to talk about those types of opportunities, and that'll be breakout room number 4 for those tech roles. But then the vast majority of you are here for the cybersecurity and risk management roles that we shared on the landing page for the event. And if we reached out to you based on your background. So room 1, 2, and 3 will be broken down by the first letter of your last name, so that we can evenly distribute folks into those rooms. Then we'll have a couple of folks from the Visa team in every room, right? So you all can jump into the right rooms once I open those rooms up based on the first letter of your last name. And then also, if you're here for like some of the software development roles and data science or other IT roles that don't fall, within the risk roles that we put on the landing page, then you can jump into room number 4 for the tech roles. Now, here's a very important thing about, we've got so many people here. Within Zoom, there's a feature called reactions, right? So let me show you something. If you go to reactions within Zoom, one of those reactions is raise hand. So I'm going to click on reactions. You'll see some icons. I'll click on raise hand. So if you look at my video feed, you see the little hand up. That means you can raise your hand to ask a question once you get into the breakout rooms, right? I saw somebody already use it already, which is good because we've got so many people here. You know, we've only got a limited amount of time to kind of answer questions. So please use the raise hand feature if you have a question. And to the Visa folks, you all can call on people based on the order that they raise their hand, and they'll start to queue up with their video feed. You can also go ahead and turn your video on, and then when you're called on to ask your question, you can come off of mute and ask your question. Now, again, because we have so many people, please keep your questions succinct and to the point to allow as many people as possible to ask questions to the Visa team members. And to the Visa team, once you get into the breakout rooms, I think it would be great to reiterate who you are and your role at the company and what your team looks like, and then open it up for Q&A in your breakout room. So I'm going to go ahead and start the breakout rooms. Everyone can jump into the breakout rooms. You can turn on your video, and then when you're called on, you can turn on your audio to ask questions. And if you're connected by phone, you can use the I'll actually help to get you into the breakout rooms if you're not connected through Zoom. All right, so everyone, I'm going to go ahead and open up the. Chris, did you have something for me?
I'm on my iPad, so I'm struggling to figure out how to switch to the breakout room. So if
I
you're
got
able
you.
to place me, well, that would be appreciated.
I got you. Okay, so I'm
Thank
going to
you.
go ahead and open up the breakout rooms. Chris, I'll get you into the breakout rooms.
Much
first.
appreciated, sir.
Yep. To our candidates, you all can go ahead and jump into the breakout rooms based on the first letter of your last name, as you see on the screen, or into the tech role room. All right. So Chris, let me go ahead and get you situated. Chris. Chris is in room 2. Gotcha. All right. If anyone, no problem. If anyone else needs help getting into a room, just drop it in the chat.
Will, can you help me get into room 4, please? This is Maya.
Yeah, same here. I couldn't quite get it to room 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same.
1 second. Let me see. Oops. Room 4. Gotcha. And then let's see, Michael goes into room 3. There we go.
Well, this is Lisa Perry. Can you help me get into room 3?
Sure.
Thank you.
No problem. There you go.
Please, can I join? My name starts from with an A. Can I join room 1?
No problem. 1 second.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well, can you help me get into room 4?
No problem.
Can you please add me to either room 1 or 2? My last name starts from B. Thank you.
1 moment. Jonathan in room 4. Gotcha.
I need room number 4 also.
Okay, gotcha. Alrighty. Kahinde.
Can you help me with room 1?
I got you. 1 second. All right. All right. Let's see. Timmy. Room 4. All right. Anyone need help?
Yes, I need help. Can you get me into room 1 or 2? My last name starts from B.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else need help?
April Bradley in room 1, please.
April.
Thank you.
1 second. I'm going to put you in room 2 just because there's less people there.
Hello, please can you also move me to room 1, please?
I'm going to put you in
Well,
room
I just
2.
got one. You
1
have it
second.
correct?
Yeah, right now.
Actually, I'm going to put you in room 3 just to even things out. All right, anyone else need help?
Yeah, Scott. Can you put me in room 2?
Sure.
And you put me in room 4.
I'm sorry. Well, you might want to
This
rename.
is Mark.
Okay. It says iPhone for your name, so you might want to change that in Zoom. But I'll get you in room 4. You said room 4?
Yes, this is Martine Walker. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Jason Brooks. I want a job. Give me a room, please.
I'll get you in room 3. There you go. All right. Let's see.
Unless you can give me a job, I can stay here.
I'm doing my best. I got you room 3.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else need help? If not, I'll start.
Room 1.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in a room that has the least amount of people. So let's see. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, room 3. There you go. All right. Anyone else need help? All righty.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, please, can you put me in room 4, please?
Let's see.
Thank you.
Do you know the last room that you were in prior to that? 1 second, let me find that. You know what? You're not showing up on my list. You might have to disconnect from Zoom and then log back in, and then I can put you into room 4.
Have to log out?
Hold on a second. Oh, okay, I got you. Room 4?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Hey, Will, did you need help getting into a room?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, I just joined.
Okay. We've got 2 types of rooms. We got cybersecurity professional rooms, and then we also have those that are looking for like tech roles, like software engineers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Let me know which you prefer, and I can get you into the right room.
Really, all of them.
All of them. What's your background? What's your background?
Cloud engineering, software engineering.
Okay. Let me get you.
Basically full stack.
All right. Let me get you in the tech room. There we go. My bad. Hold on.
Hi, sorry, I just joined a little bit late. I was trying to get into the tech room as well. I'm coming from a PM background.
Okay,
Last
one
name
second.
Diallo.
Okay, 1 second. Let me pull the list back up. Breakout rooms. Okay, so okay, so Tierno, can you disconnect and then reconnect to the meeting? For some reason, you're not showing up on my list to be able to move you. Yes, disconnect, reconnect. Participants. All right. Okay, I can see you now. Do you know which room? What's your background?
Yeah, coming back from a PM background, so product strategy and product management.
Do you have any cybersecurity or risk or fraud like type experience?
No, but I did originally join primarily for the, sorry, let me pull up the list that I had.
Okay.
Yep. So I originally joined to just learn more about like the payment intelligence and cybercrime senior analyst role.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put you into room number 2.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So let's see, assign to room 2. There you go. Alan, let me know if you need help getting into a breakout room. We just started our breakouts. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Did you need help getting into a breakout room?
No, I just had to figure this out. Let me see. Okay, I'll just go here. Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got 48 seconds. Which room did you go into?
3. Me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we had a lot more people show up than anticipated. So I knew like asking questions was gonna be a challenge.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
But all right, let's
Hey, Will.
how you doing?
I'm good, boss. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I want to ask you a real quick question.
Sure.
So I had got your invite last week, and I registered everything, and I was speaking to Michael in one of the breakout rooms. He had mentioned a link. So we just go on to that HBCU Connect link and submit a resume for a position. And do we get considered for more than one role, or do we need to submit multiple times for different roles?
Good question. So that's exactly what I'm getting ready to cover right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to cover that right now. Next steps. So
all right, perfect.
Short answer is make sure we have your resume to share with them. There's going to be like some two-way action going on where they can reach out to you if we share your resume with them through our landing page, but then you can proactively go out and pick and choose which positions you want to apply for. That will kind of get you in the mix probably faster than if they could reach out to you, when they get around to finding a match for you.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, but we're going to talk about that right now. So let me share my screen.
Hey, Will.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, Will, I wanted to say something real quick. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, no. Well, first and foremost, I wanted to say I appreciate you, man. I've been seeing this email for years, and I thought it was like some scam email. And I just so happened to like click on it one day, and yeah, I appreciate it. I just wanted to just kind of tell you that because I didn't know it was going to be like this. So, I kind of dressed for the occasion, but I definitely been seeing this email for years in my inbox, and I appreciate you.
No, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. So we should have everybody back in the main session now. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us, but I wanted to give you all some next steps, right? So if folks are interested in the opportunities, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, what specific opportunities are available and that you qualify for. So, so we have some next steps for you. One, we should have your resume if if you made it this far, right? If you got my email and you came to the event, and we're going to share your resumes with the Visa HR team, right? And the recruiters at Visa. Now, that'll give Visa the opportunity to review those resumes. And if they see a fit, then they can invite you in for a conversation. And then if there's a fit, you can move on into the interview process and that kind of thing, right? However, you can proactively go, if you look at the screen that I have up that I'm sharing from the deck, we have the apply link, right? So I'm going to email this out to everyone as well. So don't worry if you can't like copy and paste it from the screen, but you might want to take a screenshot. That probably be helpful. But I'm going to send this. I'm going to send this to everyone in an email. If you click on that link, it'll actually take you to a landing page specifically set up for this event and for our candidates, where you can do two things proactively. One thing you can do on that landing page when you go there is you can sign up for, let me get the right terminology. You can sign up for the HBCU Connect talent community. So that basically will tell Visa that you were associated with this event. So of course they want to hire people from this event. They know it's a diverse targeted event. So you can sign up for the HBCU Connect talent community. And then at the bottom of the page, you'll find a list of openings, current openings at Visa. And it's not just openings from this specific team, but you can also see openings from this specific team. So for example, there are 8 openings right now under cybersecurity. There's 2 under data science. There's 5 under information technology. I see 3 under risk and security, and 73 under development, software development and engineering, for example. But there's even more than that on this page. So you can go to this page, you can apply for the opportunities proactively, and that'll probably get you a faster look by the team than if you wait for them to contact you because we share your resume, but you still might get contacted that way as well. All right, so I encourage you to take a look at the apply link proactively. Then we're also going to ask that you fill out our event survey to tell us how we're doing from a communication perspective, from your understanding of the Visa opportunities and your impression of the event, so that we can share that with the Visa team and hopefully continue to do more events like this. So Luisa, if you could do me the honors of copy and pasting the post-event survey link into the chat, and folks can start taking that survey. And then last but not least, Scott Newman, Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition for the risk. Uh-oh, hit that too quick. Let me go back to it here. Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition, Risk and Client Services. Scott has provided his email address for any follow-up questions. I saw a lot of hands up in the breakout rooms. We know we probably couldn't get to everyone. So Scott has graciously volunteered to be a contact or a point of contact for you. But I would highly encourage you to apply to the opportunities using that apply link and take advantage of this special opportunity with Visa. Now, what I like to do before we go is I want to get a screenshot of your smiling faces. So if you got your video on, leave it on for a hot second. Let me get a screenshot of your smiling faces to remember this event. And then I'm going to give the final words to Michael Jabara to close us out. But let me get this screenshot real quick. I'm going to take this off the screen. And I'm going to ask Luisa to help me out here to get a screenshot. So on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Luisa, you got that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. So I thank everyone for joining us. Michael, I'll give you the final words to close us out.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Will, for hosting me and the rest of the Visa team. We had a wonderful discussion. It was great to meet all the different candidates and answer the questions, talk about what we do at Visa, what we do in risk. Really looking forward to not have this be a one-time event, but this is rather more of the start of a continuous conversation and engagement with you and with the audience.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you and your team joining us. And to the Visa team, we thank you for sharing your opportunities and sharing your experiences. And to our candidates, without you coming to the event, you guessed it, these events could not happen. So I really thank you all for taking the time out to join us at this event, learn more about Visa. I hope you take advantage. And if you get hired, definitely let me know. All right, so I thank everyone and wish you best of luck and good night. Take care.
Thank you, Will.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
all so
Thank you, Will.
much.
everyone.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
much.
thank you,
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Bless.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Survey done. I appreciate y'all.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Will. I had to jump out and come back in. Can you just share your last screen so that I can screenshot the information?
There you go. Can you see that okay? We'll email it to you as well.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Stop the recording.
Let me see. Stop recording. There you go.